Hi, good evening. It's Jason from Fraser Valley Rose Farm. Well, I have a prop with me tonight. This is a tray of seedlings. And it's tomato seedlings I put into the plug tray about a week ago. They have germinated fairly uniformly, and now they've started, if you can look closely here, and maybe I'll throw in a graphic to support that, is they've started to stretch towards that direction, towards the light. That's a natural physiological response in seedlings, and in fact it can be pretty extreme. Especially when you start plants like this in low light situations, indoors, over the late winter or early spring months, you can get a pretty pronounced stretch. And if the light levels are low enough, they will look yellow, tall, weak, spindly seedlings. That's called etiolation. It's again, the physiological response to lack of light, too much heat, the seedlings trying to jump up and reach for the light. Now these here, if I stuck these in good lighting situation right now, or even out in the greenhouse, they would be fine. But that's not the question in this video. The question is, can you fix seedlings that have gone too far, that are stretched tall and thin and yellow and not looking good at all? Can they be fixed? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take these now, I'm going to stick them into a dark place for another day or two, and then we'll start that process. We'll see if we can get these back into condition after I kind of ruin them. So it took me a week of determined neglect to get these seedlings where I want them for this video. They are tall, they are stretched, they're weak, they're yellowish or pale. I mean, they're everything you don't want in a seedling. I could just rub my hand across here and they're limp. So to get them like this, what I did is I put them into the worst possible conditions for seedlings. I put them into a dark place. It was still, it was moist, it was warm, and all of those things will introduce stretch. I also started them with plain water, no food, so these have every strike against them. And so I wanted to simulate, in doing this, some of the poor conditions that they can encounter, seedlings can encounter, when gardeners try to start them in the winter. So let's face it, light levels inside the house in the winter are not sufficient for seedling development. Also, it's warm inside. And in addition to that, some people add to their seedlings a seedling heating mat to help them germinate quickly, and even put one of these dome trays on top to maintain humidity levels. Now don't get me wrong, both of those things are good steps for the stage where you're trying to get the seed to germinate, to crack. But after that, your goal is to reduce that humidity, introduce gentle air movement, pump in the light levels, and lower the temperatures so that your seedlings can start to firm up. Okay, so now that I've done this to my seedlings, I want to show you how to fix it. And to fix it, or try to fix it, because I don't know if I've maybe gone too far with these here, but I'm going to try to fix it by giving it a place on the bench that is going to get some good light, some air movement, lower the temperatures. Let's make a spot on the bench right now. All right, so I've got a spot on a table here. I've been starting seedlings already, and you can see some of them are already up here. And that's much more like it, compact, green, growing perfectly. And this is the spot. I've got lots of natural sunlight pouring into the room here, and I've added just a little bit of supplemental lighting as well. So, time to slide in my seedlings. There's a spot for them. So my floppy seedlings will be there, and hopefully will respond to the light. And in addition to adding light, I'm also going to try to cool it off in here. So room temperatures can be a little too warm for this, so I'm opening it up just to get some airflow in and around those seedlings. All right, this fan is on, so I'm getting a little bit of gentle airflow over top of my seedlings here. I just wanted to show you that even though it's running here, you can barely see movement on the seedlings. It's not like pushing them over. You should just have a gentle bit of airflow, and that will help them to recover a little bit better. One final step here is I'm going to feed them. Okay, and I've just mixed up a general purpose liquid feed fertilizer here, and the kind that you put in and it makes the water turn blue a little bit there. And when you're choosing that, and it can be any brand of it, but you want to mix it for seedlings at about half the recommended strength for full-grown plants. And now I just throw the sprayer on here. A little awkward doing this one-handed, so bear with me. Pump it up. And let's give these guys some food. And one thing that is unfortunate is that because they are so stretched, you may find that as you put on the water, they bend right over like this. Don't be disturbed by that, because honestly, as that airflow goes over it, it will evaporate the water, and hopefully they will recover. All right, I'm going to leave them like this condition. I might back off that fan just a little bit because that's a little more movement than I want to see, but we'll check back in with you in about a week and see if the condition of these seedlings has improved a lot. Okay, I told you I would update you about a week later. It has been a full week since the time I placed these under lights and gave them better air circulation and lower temperatures. And I hope you can see that the condition has much improved. And I want to give you a close-up view here, so I'm going to take the time to focus this a little bit, because I want to show you that the seedling development has moved quite along here. So in addition to them being greener and firmer, this leaf here, this first leaf that came out of the seedling or the seed, is a cotyledon or a seed leaf, and it doesn't resemble the mature plant at all. It's just sort of an undifferentiated round leaf. This one here is more the shape you would expect of a tomato. So that is the first true leaf of the plant. So amongst these here, I was able to recover quite a few of them, but I may show you an example here of one that didn't recover. And this one here just continued to get long and spindly, and even though its color did recover quite well, I just don't think that stem would ever firm up to the point where it would support good growth. Here's another one. So out of this whole tray here, just clear cut, probably out of maybe 200 seedlings, there's probably 3 or 4 in there that were really bad. Maybe I can focus you in on one that's still in the tray here and show you how I would make that determination. But there we go. This one here, compared to the other one that's in the tray, it's thinner, it's spindly, and it's a good time to do some thinning, because when I do my seeding, I most typically will put 2 or 3 seeds into a cell, just so that I always have a full tray. If I get full germination, all I have to do is pull out the extras. So that's what I'm doing right now, is just a thinning step, so that the ones that remain in the tray will have more access to light, more access to roots, to the nutrients and everything else, and just will make a better quality seedling. So the other thing I'll say is that this is the time, even though I've given them better light, better air circulation, lower temperatures, if your outdoor temperatures allow it, this would be the time to start hardening them off to go outside, because there really is no comparison to outdoor growing conditions for making firm seedlings. So if you wanted to start that process, what you would do is just take your seedling tray outside for a few hours on one day, during the day while temperatures are still high, leave it out there. And then the next day do a little more. You might start at 4 hours, go up to 6 hours, and then eventually you'll be able to leave your seedling tray outside overnight, and then as they develop, you'll pot them up or plant them out in the garden. Now I want to show you one other thing here, which is that if these end up a little bit tall, and because they're tomatoes, there's one other little trick that you can do to help your tomatoes along in the garden. Let me show you here. So let's say you've grown your seedlings onto transplant stage, they're ready to be transplanted, but you find that they're still a little bit lanky or a little bit stretchy. This one isn't too bad. But if you found that that were the case, there's one thing you can do with tomato seedlings that you can't do with most others, and that's to cheat. You can bury it deeper. This one here, I've stripped off the bottom leaves from here, and I've left this long stem portion here. And as you can see, if I put this beside here, I could bury it all the way down in the pot, almost to the bottom. And what will happen on this section of the stem here is your tomatoes will do what's called adventitious rooting. So it will actually firm up the whole seedling into the soil. So if you ended up with a bit of a stretchy seedling up by this stage, that's one way that you could address it. All right, I hope this answers some of your questions about stretched seedlings and can you rescue them. If you have any other questions or comments, please leave them below the video.